this is a really sobering report. We were getting kind of intermediate reports during the past week saying it was all looking quite good. Obviously, we wanted China and Russia to kind of be promising more, but the evidence was looking good. And then this report comes out, which is 2.4 degrees, which, if that's true, then you are talking about potentially devastating effects from climate change breakdown. So it is very sobering, and it's good that Boris Johnson is going today, because hopefully he again is going to kind of get some in, show the emergency and the urgency now for getting some serious negotiations done. But realistically, what can be done at this point is questionable, because all the countries have said what they're going to do, and the evidence suggests that that's not enough. So what happens next is, well, we're probably going to have another type of these summits, within 12 months to kind of, ratchet up what countries are saying that they're going to have to do.
Do you think that will happen? Another conference organised within 12 months to repeat the conversations we've just had?
Yeah. I think it has to be done. I mean, ultimately it has to be done. But what also has to happen is China and Russia have to come to the table more seriously. Other countries have to kind of be more ambitious about their cuts. And also, what we have to do is realize that it's not just about cutting emissions. That is essential. What we also have to do is look at nature-based solutions, look at how we can use nature, harness nature to help us get out of this problem. We've got fantastic resources like peatlands, which can be used better to store and capture, sequester carbon. And although that's been talked about, it's not really being given the prominence that I think it should have been. We've looked at forests for storing carbon, but I think we need to start now moving forwards looking at peatlands to store carbon, but also our coasts, salt marshes, all sorts of things that nature can do for us. We now need to start looking more carefully and more ambitiously about how we use those habitats.
Dave has just emailed me and said, has anybody thought of using your climate scientists as a form of wind power? Because your arm waving is certainly worthy of consideration, a human windmill. I mean, he's got a point. But anyway, I digress.
I can't deny it. I'm sorry. Yes, it's yes.
Let's move.
Use my hands.
So, COP26, that's what some people are calling it. I mean, what has it achieved so far?
Okay, I won't say it's been a flop, because first of all, we're not at the final point yet, and so this is not over yet. We might see some changes, dramatic changes coming forward. Unlikely, but it's still a possibility. But also, crucially, it has highlighted the issue to all of us again. And I think that is the big difference between this COP and previous COPs. The countries, governments, almost can't do enough to satisfy a large proportion of their public, of their voters, because there is, I would say now, an unprecedented demand, an unprecedented calling from the public to do something about this. And yes, of course, support for taking action on climate change has most certainly been growing over the years. But I think this is a really kind of absolutely kind of focus so many people's minds on what we should be doing, and across all kind of areas as well. I mean, it's not just the young people that, we've been discussing the past couple of weeks that want something done. Other people, all generations do. And I think that is really telling. And that's a positive to come out of this COP.
Christian, we've been talking about renewables. Everybody's been talking about renewables at COP26. And there does seem a sense that it still won't be enough. Now, the nuclear option has also been discussed. And reading between the lines, there does seem a consensus that a future of renewables and nuclear seems at the moment to be the way forward.
I think you're right. At the moment, that does seem to be the way forward. I would suggest it probably has to be, because if we are looking at moving electric for vehicles, for aircraft, for shipping, decarbonising shipping is an essential part of all of this, then we are going to need an awful lot of electricity. And that is going to have conflicts then. If we want more wind turbines, if we want more solar panels, we have to put them somewhere. So what do? We can't put, say, wind turbines, or arguably we can't put wind turbines on peatlands, because then that causes problems too. They've then got pressures with land being needed to use for food and other resources. So you're going to have all these pressures put on us if we decide that we want more renewables, more solar, more wind, whatever it may be. So we are going to have to look at nuclear. Without a doubt, we're going to have to look at it as a way forward, because we are going to need an awful lot of electricity and an awful lot of infrastructure, physical infrastructure. And we might be having to, build on places which, we didn't want to build on before. For an example of, if we have, HGV vehicles now going to be electric, well, that means that they need somewhere to park, to charge. Places, logistical companies are going to need physically more space. And we have to start thinking about those sorts of issues too moving forward. This is not there's no simple solution. We know what we have to do, but to get there, there's so many issues which we have to overcome.
Can I ask one really brief question? Transport, how people are getting to and from Glasgow, how important actually is that big picture if these people take the train or they fly?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Bangor University's private jet was busy when I went, so I obviously did catch the train. And this is just, we've discussed optics matter. So for goodness sake, if you're going to COP, use public transport. The cost of if I even just drove up there compared to using public transport, and it comes to carbon, is large. And so we should have all been using public transport. And also when we're floating around Glasgow as well, the public transport was provided free of charge for delegates. And so we should all have been using public transport whenever we possibly could. So yes, flying up there when there was an option, ridiculous.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.